Major focus for this IBC is on the release of our multi-screen solution. Wherever we looked in the marketplace, we were seeing that there was consistently, lack of an end-to-end solution, either that or operators were being forced down a particular path. And our decision, when we reviewed the market, was to say, well, look, there's really an opportunity here to deliver a best-of-breed multi-screen solution that addresses that kind of end-to-end ecosystem, both in terms of the pieces that we bring to that world, but also some of the other really strong people or providers in that space that deliver those best-of-breed components of that ecosystem. Different platforms, different operators have different needs for how they manage digital rights management, or what we call rights. So there's a need to be able to support different DRM platforms, PlayReady, Access, Vying, for starters. And so, one of the things that we do, and I think that makes us very different from our competitors, is we take an agnostic perspective on rights. So rather than forcing an operator down the path of, our own DRM, we give them access to all of the industry standard DRMs, widely accepted DRMs, and let them pick the appropriate DRM for the appropriate platform. Why that's becoming even more important is that as we move into a multi-DRM world rather than just a singular DRM, again, we can meet all of their needs by having, by supporting all of those different DRMs. Maybe it's PlayReady on Microsoft devices or Microsoft platforms. Maybe it's Access on other platforms. Maybe it's Vying on Google devices. And I think we're well positioned to provide that a holistic yet agnostic solution for those operators. We also do that as part of a managed service. So for operators that don't want to make that investment in a very expensive hardware architecture, servers, data centers, key servers, content protection servers, we've taken that investment for them, and it allows them to actually deploy very, very quickly, but very cost effectively, because they're actually buying a managed service rather than hundreds of thousands of dollars of hardware. Sometimes it's challenging in this space, as I'm sure that customers often don't want their vendors to talk about what it is they do, but we do have a number of very strong partners who have been kind enough to allow us to talk about them in the market. Viaplay in Scandinavia has been a long-term customer of ours, someone that we've had a long and enduring relationship with. They're incredibly dynamic. Of most of the operators who have struggled to actually create a viable business model out of OTT or multi-screen services, Viaplay have actually been able to create a standalone successful business through innovation, through real smarts. So they're a really strong partner of ours, and we would hope that the contribution that we've brought to that relationship has helped them to turn that into a successful standalone enterprise. Astro in Malaysia, one of the predominant pay TV operators in the Asia Pacific, certainly the most dominant player in the Malaysian marketplace. Very, very good partnership with them, where we've provided a number of components for their ecosystem, and they've been a wonderful partner to kind of collaborate and innovate with. And then a number of other operators in part of that ecosystem. All of that ecosystem, and I think that's the thing that makes us flexible, is not just that we force our entire end-to-end ecosystem on those operators, but we allow them to pick the pieces that perhaps make sense. And I think that's a key differentiator. So if they have existing relationships with a content management workflow provider, for example, we're not going to force them to change. We're going to work around that component that they've already identified as meeting their needs and deliver them the other pieces. And so, a number of different partners or customers that we work with in that ecosystem. Today, I think the multi-screen world, it's a challenging marketplace. I mean, in the traditional operator space, I think a lot of the need to create a multi-screen solution has been driven by the emergence of over-the-top providers like Netflix. So a lot of it's about anti-churn. It's about providing that solution that allows them to continue to be sticky, hold on to their customers. So I think today, you know, the measures or the metrics for success are different from what they'll be in 3 years' time. I think as that multi-screen world emerges and we look and find business models that allow an operator to charge for subscription, for VOD, then I think those metrics shift. I think today, you know, critical metric is quality of service. So, you know, we're providing a managed service, you know, in terms of the rights component. It's, you know, what's the availability of that platform? What's your uptime? You know, what's the speed of key delivery? So, you know, are you delivering keys in an accessible time or an acceptable time over that internet? So if you've got a data center in Los Angeles, but you've got a customer in Malaysia, what's the time for key delivery or key exchange? So those are the kinds of metrics that we're using today for managing and monitoring our success. But we very much expect that to change over the coming years as multi-screen becomes you know, its own kind of revenue center.